morning. Good morning. All right.
It just went out. You ready?
Joe Mangiacotti Show. Let me ask you, Jazz. Good morning.
Joe, you're live.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Jazz. You guys...
Joe, you are on.
Good morning. Good morning, folks. Are you there?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. Good morning, Jazz. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. All right. So here we go. I'm actually broadcasting from a secure, non-disclosed location. That's how we're doing it today. Remote broadcast. Of course, everything's the same, folks. You can join the conversation at any time at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. That's how you get into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. You can also text us on our text line that's up and running at 50. That's a 617-297-8388 number. 617-297-8388. And we are live streaming on the TuneIn app. So just punch in WCRN. You can take us anywhere. And we're also live streaming on Facebook. So if you go to Facebook, Joe Mangiacotti Show, M-A-N-G-I, you've got the audio there. There's a camera at the studio I'm in. Again, not a TV production. That's not what we're doing, folks. It's just a little glimpse into the live radio going on. But join us on any one of those mediums, at those platforms, right? Tune in. You can also tune in to 7:30 a.m. Kind of covers the housekeeping part of it right there, folks. So we're going to have a good day. A good show lined up because coming up a little later in the hour at 7 o'clock, we're going to actually be hear from Patrick Wood. Now, Patrick Wood is the founder and director of Citizens for Free Speech, and we're going to touch base with him because I think it's very important that we talk about what is happening to free speech and what's going on with the cancel culture. But it's gone. There's a systematic... Guys, look, there's a systematic way. There's a systematic system. There's a systematic way that the left is going after all conservative or just anybody who doesn't agree with it. We're seeing Twitter accounts being canceled by the dozens. We've seen CNN trying to rally troops and government officials to shut down Fox News. Meanwhile, Newsmax, their ratings leapfrogged ahead, and that is scaring the bejesus out of CNN. They don't want to see that at all. All right. But before I get to some of that, let's take a look at some of this. We're going to put this going on in D.C., and this show is all about common sense talk for the common sense citizen. But it's also taking a look at just common sense happenings and what's going on. So we have the whole issue in the Capitol. If we go back to January 6th, the left wants to label this insurrection. It doesn't meet the threshold for insurrection, guys. They're very concerned about what happened, and they should be. The more and more video that I watch of the behavior of a few people, what they did to that building, what they did to the Capitol police officers, what they were doing to the politicians, other than instilling the fear and all of that. Just going into the offices and taking laptops, acceptable. But, it's also unacceptable because what was happening on the 6th that the media would uncover is what was going on in Portland and other parts around the country. When the courthouse was being attacked and Molotov cocktails being thrown at it, and in the big, it's also federal property. And I understand that, hey, sitting reps and stuff are going to have a little bit more of a problem because, after all, they're in that building, right? They're not in the other buildings. But it shouldn't matter. Building, attacking, and trying to do damage to a federal building, everybody should be prosecuted accordingly. And they were silent, though. This is the thing, right, folks? They were silent the whole time. So now Nancy Pelosi, and I'm saying her specifically, because the Capitol Police, their big boss, I mean, they have their inter-office or their inter-department hierarchy and chain of command, of course. They have a chief of that department and lieutenants and sergeants, like any police department does. But they are managed and controlled by whoever the sitting speaker is, which happens to be Nancy Pelosi at the time. So the buck does stop with her when it comes to the Capitol Police. I'm not sure who decided we need 25,000, more or less, National Guardsmen. Our capital, the country that's the beacon of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, Second Amendment, right? Media that covers all forms now. We have electronic and print. It looks like an occupied zone, doesn't it? It absolutely looks like an occupied zone. And that is an embarrassing situation. That's very embarrassing on the world stage. My question is, who determined we needed tens of thousands? And then they decide that it's Donald Trump's fault. Look, we got used to 5 years of everything is Donald Trump's problem or issue, right? He started it. It's all his fault. How is this his fault? I know they want to blame his speech, but politicians make speech. He said peacefully, he said show your strength, and it's a reach to try to say strength actually meant, and I've heard some of the talking heads on some of these cable shows actually replace the word strength with fight. It's not the case. Now they've moved ahead, right? The impeachment articles. They're going to push it off till February. We'll talk about that. But now we know that the FBI notified the Capitol Police, i.e. Pelosi's office, that they had chatter and talk about these bad eggs going to do what they were going to do long before the 6th and before Donald Trump took stage. So the impeachment will be a very interesting trial. Let's talk about that for a moment, folks. Right? They go right to, the fastest election. There was no trial, no evidence, just vote on it immediately. Yes, the Senate has got to do the trial. And they're going to have a hard time proving it in a real case. So what's the reason? Don't we know what the reason is? The reason, what they're trying to do here, what they want to do here, is in Donald Trump. Post-presidency, I don't even know if that's
Caller Bruce.
Actually something that you can actually do. Now, Scott Dershowitz said no, and if you remember a couple of weeks ago, Nelson, right? I did a review of his article on this. This guy is a 30-year plus legal scholar, and he broke it down. You can't impeach a private citizen. Think about that for a moment. Congress has the ability to impeach a citizen. Why can't they impeach any opposing party candidate? Impeach him, find him guilty, impeach him in office. You get rid of your opposing party presidential candidates before they're even president. This is bizarre. Absolute bizarre world. I don't know. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's go to Bruce, who's been holding in Northbridge. Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, outside of the obvious that we can, the bottom line is kind of merit that they were prepared for any type of
Bruce, you're broken and intermittent, so I'm not getting everything you're saying. I don't know if it's your connection, our connection, or where it is, but give it one more try.
Okay. So they got embarrassed. They weren't prepared for the crowd to come in. The obvious violence can be done. You call back.
Yeah, good idea. What Bruce is saying, folks, is that they were not embarrassed. And I think if I know what he's saying, I agree. They were, in fact, embarrassed, and they were caught off guard. Or were they? These are the things that we'll probably never know. Did they know that bad actors? Is that why they had so much military, so many National Guard there? Because they knew what was coming. But they didn't have it ahead of time. See, that's the thing. They didn't show it, right? They brought them all in. And this is back to, guys, common sense talk here. What's going on? You look at the videos. You watch that day. I watched it live, as most of us probably did. And I know a lot boycotted on principle. You didn't watch it, but I needed. It's kind of part of the show, or what I'm due here. I should be able to say I watched it unfold firsthand. So of course it was on in the office. But you see, sometimes the Capitol Police moving the barricades and opening doors in the very beginning, letting them in, and the guy walking into the house. And he's meandering around and he's saying, hey, guys, could you guys just leave? This is like the most sacred place. It wasn't very forceful. And then things went a little astray. And there were people there that were dressed and equipped not for a peaceful rally. If you're just the tradition, the typical Trump supporter and rally goer, you're going there and you're dressed warm and in sweats, and you got the hat and maybe a flag and scarf. But when you see people dressed in black and they have knapsacks with equipment, including rope and hard objects that can break stuff, and helmets, I don't know why. Who wears a helmet to go to a peaceful rally? So you know that people were there with intentions that were not just simply a rally, voice their opinion. But we have the hypocrisy of the left, not denouncing the bad behavior all summer and still going on. They just can't bring themselves to do it, to say this is bad, And people on both sides need to be arrested and prosecuted, because the message has got to be, yes, you can have freedom of speech and you can protest, but you can't go over the line. But now, people who were just there, the FBI has come in, they arrested that lady and man here from Massachusetts. Fine, but I want to know, did they actually break a window? The initial reports I saw, and I'm quiet because I don't know everything, right? We haven't got to the trial. We haven't got evidence and everything that has been exposed. But based on what the reports are saying so far, and I've seen the media, they were in the building. And those so far, the charges are for being in or not leaving when asked to. All right, so they're not violent. Did they break anything? Did they hurt anybody? So what is the message? If you don't agree with the ruling class, then you better not even show up. Look at the people. People are being fired just for attending. That's bad enough, but we also have people being fired because their LinkedIn pages are being researched and they worked for the Trump administration. There's got to be some common sense pushback here, and we've got to say no. I mean, do we do this through wrongful terminations? Is that really a legitimate reason to fire somebody? But they'll go a step forward. They won't hire you in the first place, and you'll never be able to prove it. Let's try Bruce again. He tried calling back. Bruce, let's see if we have a better connection here this morning.
I think we have a better connection.
Absolutely, yeah. It sounds good already. So saying they were embarrassed and they weren't prepared. Expound on that, and who was embarrassed? Was it with Pelosi or the Capitol Police, or who do you mean?
Pelosi is the head of the Capitol Police.
Absolutely.
Every one of the four was not prepared for that. They refused help from the Defense Department. Okay? They let people in on one side, and they were trying to stop people on the other side. There's
Yeah.
one video out there. No, this is not the beginning of it, okay? The very beginning of the campaign, they were bringing people in to disrupt rallies, gatherings. The people going to this rally, they knew that FP and others were going to be there doing it.
Yep.
It's not fun, okay? And you can say the violence was wrong, but they brought it on themselves on a couple of notes, okay?
Yeah.
The way they've been acting as a opposing party for the last 4 years is abominable, okay, to say the least. And then, when it comes to the truth, they're all denying that there was problems with the election. How many times have I called you and said I have experience in the election process? From the very beginning of voting, to being in campaigns, to watching elections being counted. They do not, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good, Bruce, because we did see that, again, the majority, we're warned and we're cautioned very much. The left does it when there's any criticism of the riots and the looting. I mean, we've got the CNN talking heads on live camera looking straight into the camera, into your eyes, and saying, for the most part, a peaceful protest. Well, there's literally a building burning behind him and a dumpster fire going on. And, okay, so your credibility is out the window right there. But they caution us very much then to say, you can't paint everybody with the same brush. The swath of everybody's the same. Those are peaceful protesters, and then there's a few bad actors that come in there. And then, of course, they're going to tell us that the Bruce, that are infiltrating those, actually the Proud Boys or whatever those other off the main course people are. But the same thing here, right? Now it's reversed. They want to sweep everybody who supported President Trump, supports President Trump, voted for President Trump as a domestic terrorist, just for voting for the other guy. You should be taken down to Guantanamo, for crying out loud.
Here's an experiment. I had a nephew tell me that.
Bruce, we were broken up again. I don't know if you're traveling or what the deal is, but we can try it again. We'll let you go, and Jazz will take a call again. I don't know why it's intermittent, and I don't think it's on our side. But let's go to Scott, and we'll see if it's on our side or not, and see what Scott's connection is. Scott, thanks for holding on, man.
Good morning, Mangiacotti.
See, Jazz, maybe we're having a problem with the connection, because
you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Hello?
I can hear you. Go ahead, Scott.
Okay. President Trump has been vicious since day one. Come on. I mean, this has been just tortured and maligned. No president, I fact that no president has been as hated and persecuted as Trump. You know what, Mr. Mangiacotti? I'm not going to recognize Joe Biden. And millions of others are not going to recognize me. You hear me?
Yeah, it's an intermittent. Jazz, are you hearing it intermittent, or is that just on my end?
I hear you.
All right. Scott, is that the president has been viciously attacked and maligned since day one, and I agree with you. From the moment he came down the escalator at Trump Tower, and if we go back, there's all kind of fun and games, and late night comedians had fun with Donald Trump. 20 year of running for president. They had him on the talk shows, right? They all come up, and Conan and Jimmy Fallon, they all did, and then he said he was running. And he was going to run as a Republican. And he wasn't always declared. I have always said he's not a straight-up Republican. I mean, he was in New York. There's got to be a little bit of liberal in him. And he's a guy that is the mega movement, right? He brought this whole new part to the Republican. That's why the party itself is split, because you've got the old-school Republicans who are, for the most part, a lot of rhinos, and the rest who aren't rhinos, yeah, they may have some conservative values, but a lot of them, they're not vocal, and they don't fight hard enough. And then they also start mixing in their, too much of the personal religious stuff that I shouldn't be in the I'm concerned, which is why libertarians are often more attractive to me than the Republican Party. So I maintain this since day one, folks. That Donald Trump, we didn't elect, we elected Donald Trump, and he had people who were either not Republicans or even never voted or haven't voted in a long time, came out in 2016 for this guy, and they support him. So the question now going forward is, what is going to happen? Is if he breaks off to a third party, neither's ever going to get elected. The Democrats, never mind them being able to control the ballot box through mass ballots and ballot harvesting and mail-in ballots, not absentee but mail-in ballots. It's going to split the vote, and you're not going to get enough to challenge any future Democrat if what is the Republican Party is the mega movement, and then the Republican Party separated in a third party. So that would be the worst thing we do for the country going forward, right, is to divide those here. So then the question is, can we incorporate America First into the Republican Party, but can they embrace it? Now, there's a few things that Donald Trump taught us that I think are great lessons, Scott, and that is, back. You don't have to roll over when the Democrats say things to you. And we look at Mitt Romney, right? And we look at all these people. I got to tell you, you look at all these people, and I absolutely lost my train of thought right there because something popped up. I'm sorry, Scott. Where are we in the clock? We got a few minutes left. So, Scott, let you finish your thought.
All right. I would never ever recognize this president because he lost the election from Trump. And he only got into office Charles Schumer, Schiff, Jerry Nadler, Bernie Sanders, Dianne Feinstein, Michael Bloomberg, Mark Zuckerberg, the Sulzberger family, who owns the New York Times, all the news that's unfit to print, and George Soros pulled off their successful, evil, and illegal Jew coup.
Oh, all right. Scott. Thank you very much. All right, folks. What we're going to do is, in a few minutes, we're going to have to take a break. A phone call's coming in, but I'm going to tell whoever's calling in, we're going to save you till after the break. It's not fair to, pull you in at this point and go from there. But to get to what was going on at the Capitol Police, what happened that day. But let's get, when we come back on the other side, I have got to talk about Guard. The whole issue from the fact that, months ago, like Tom Cotton, he penned an opinion, and the New York Times published it, and the editor, and apparently now, from what I understand, two of their jobs are forced to resign because they let Tom Cotton have a speech and make a good point about National Guard helping to bring control over the mayhem. and the destruction that was happening throughout the country. But after him, they came after the New York Times. How dare you? No way. You can't bring the National Guard in on any of this. And then look at what they did with the Capitol. Look what they did with the Capitol. Tens of thousands of guardsmen coming from all over the country. Now it's a perfect thing. And this is what I'm saying, folks, is it's the telltale signs of those dictatorships in those Cold War countries that we were in the Cold War with, where the ruling party ruled and they were elite. And they had no criticism because any dissident or criticism was squashed. You did not have an avenue or vehicle to do it. If you wanted to live and survive, work and eat, you went right along with it. And only they, right? The Capitol Police are, in essence, the Palace Guard. And Pelosi, she's the Wicked Witch of the East or West with the flying monkeys or whatever you have. But I mean, it's this situation where again, in the same breath, we got to defund the police, and they're horrible, and they're systematically racist, systemic racism throughout the police. And then, right, was it Bennett? We got this, and we'll talk about this. Impugning the integrity of the National Guard, telling them that they were dangerous, and they actually sent 12 guardsmen home. We'll pick up and continue with the conversation about the National Guard and their treatment when we come back on the other side. This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830. WCRN, our affiliates, live streaming on the TuneIn app. Don't forget, you can also check it out on my Facebook page, Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. There is a camera there, and you're going to see I'm drinking out of my WCRN Joe Mangiacotti Show mug. We have some of those available. And so we'll take a quick break out with Joe and stuff, and we'll come back on the other side. Stick with us.
You're off air.
All right, let me try this.
This is Sean Burke, president of the Licensed Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts.
Do you hear me? All right, so we got the Lucy up. All right, so that changes.
Get your answers through a Massachusetts licensed private investigator. Get the facts without risking your credibility by unknowingly committing a criminal offense. You need a license to perform investigations.
Those lights that are
some types of work that requires a license, any type of surveillance, interviewing someone for a third party, background and asset checks are just a few examples. For more on this, visit us at lpdm.org and tune into AM 830 WCRN Sunday mornings at 7:30.
I'm sorry, say that again?
From the LPDM or
Say
casefiles.com.
We know why you're awake. Your child is about
You're
to get
you're
his driver's
speaking
license.
soft,
Levante's Auto
and
School
the
offers one-week
radio
driving
stuff
program to
is
help make sure
rolling
your
right
child
over
stays
you,
safe
so
and
I don't
focused
hear
behind
you.
the wheel.
So go to Comrex and type
That's
it in.
the number for Levante's Auto School.
Learn to drive safely and efficiently. Visit one of our 5 locations throughout Massachusetts. Click Levante'sAutoSchool.com.
Levante's Auto School shows you how to learn the rules and keep your cool. 487-1098.
Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
It's time to go out with Joe.
Welcome to this edition of Out with Joe. 2021 should be an interesting year. We're brought to you by Nothing But Cakes in White City Plaza in Shrewsbury. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. This week, we're going to take a look at what restaurants you need to pay attention to in 2021. See, traditionally at the end of the year, Restaurant Business publishes a sampling of emerging restaurants to watch in the new year. But 2020, of course, has not been like any other year. That's not saying there aren't concepts worth watching. As the pandemic does some Darwinian weeding out of restaurant business models, investors are still finding growth concepts
to put their money behind. Fast casual chicken chain Starboard received a $4 million cash infusion in December to fuel its growth across California. And in November, 83-unit Torchy's Tacos completed a new funding round, and health-focused, value-minded Every Table closed on a $16 million investment deal. But here are some other topics, hot topics, restaurant operators should be paying attention to in 2021.
The vaccine distribution. The reasons to pay attention to this are really a no-brainer. The sooner vaccines
become widely administered, the sooner life will return to some version of normal. Dine-in suspensions and capacity caps will ease. Consumers will regain confidence in on-premise dining, and most likely, pent-up demand for restaurant hospitality and social gatherings will spark a major boom for the industries. We might even see another roaring 20s. Widespread vaccinations will likely have another ripple effect. Restaurants will likely return to having a deep well of teenage employees whose parents had kept them out of the workforce because of coronavirus fears. Also, airport concepts. Licensing a restaurant concept for airport expansion was traditionally a reliable way to bring in some revenue and build brand awareness. Not so much in a COVID world. Now, those airport restaurants are largely shut down or seeing greatly depressed traffic. It's unknown when most Americans will feel comfortable to travel widely again, but we will see brands create a more grab-and-go alternative or duck out of the airport space entirely in the new year. And then there's the suburban swing. Restaurant real estate will no doubt remain a hot topic in 2021. How long downtown cores will remain ghost towns is uncertain, but it's clear that many office workers who once frequented nearby fast casuals will work from home for a good chunk of the coming year. Some might never return to their cubicles. That has many operators eyeing suburban locations or even ways to do regular suburban deliveries of their food. And are grocerants still a threat? Pre-pandemic operators nervously eye grocery store chains adding wine bars, quick service options, or even full-service sit-down concepts amid their shelves of cereal and walls of kale. Now, with consumers getting hooked on the convenience of grocery delivery, the relevance of those concepts, well, they're a little less certain. Mega retailer Kroger, however, did announce its entrance into the ghost kitchen space this fall, so perhaps the grocerant still looms as a threat. For more on this article, check out this post on OutWithJoe.com from Restaurant Business. We're still suspending the Music Minute for the time being for obvious reasons, but don't forget to support your local musicians. We do. For more on dining and entertainment, click OutWithJoe.com and follow us on social media at OutWithJoe. OutWithJoe has been brought to you by Nothing Bun Cakes in White City Plaza in Shrewsbury, on Facebook at Nothing Bun Cakes Shrewsbury.
The preceding program has been a production of Cameo Productions.
Have you heard of the hottest new bakery around? I know you heard about it right here. My friend Al has opened Nothing Bundt Cake in the White City Plaza in Shrewsbury. Nothing Bundt Cake is a bakery chain and is locally owned and operated by my friend Al. They have bundt cakes ranging from bite-sized to tiered, plus platters, candles, and cards. For any occasion, function, or just to have around the house or office, stop by and check them out. Everything is baked from scratch and on site. Nothing beats a sweet surprise. And until you try one of Al's bundt cakes, you haven't tried a real bundt cake. Stop by and ask for Al. Tell him Joe told you to stop by. 98 Boston Turnpike, White City Plaza, near Planet Fitness, Shrewsbury. And on Facebook as well, Nothing Bundt Cake Shrewsbury.
To join the conversation, call 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Now, here's your host, Joe Mangiacotti.
All right, folks. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCN. All right, you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. And Jazz, I don't know, I'm getting my voice coming back to me, so I don't know if you need to take that out of Audition or something. I'm not sure. But 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. And you can also text us in real time at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. All right, what we were talking about was the National, the Capitol National Guard, the situation there. We have 3 governors who have ordered their troops back from D.C. And the point here, folks, is, A, they're brought in. I think it's a ridiculous amount I had said something earlier in the week, and I think it might have been on Jerry's show during Making Money Last, which is Political Thursday. I'm not sure. It might have been online. But a friend of mine who has gone for years, he's done 12 years now. He did the Obama and the Bush and the Trump. And he videotaped and he took a ride from the Capitol to the White House. And it was 3 checkpoints. 3 checkpoints, and the first 2 were Secret Service, but the third was a National Guard post, and he had video of this, and they were the serious fence, right? At on the 6th, they had bicycle racks, folks, bicycle racks, but then when they came in, they were serious. They meant business. They had the 10-foot steel with the T-bottom, and they dropped the Jersey barriers on it, and nobody was getting in there. This was something. The visual is horrible for the rest of the world. It looks like an occupied country, and these National Guardsmen, and a lot of them have been in the thick of it because they've served tours overseas. They're not just weekend warriors. But what I'm getting at is they should be treated with a lot of respect and dignity because they're called to do something. They take an oath and they will do what is asked of them. And to have members of Congress to say things like they need to be, like the white guys there who voted for Trump, they could be a danger. They could be a danger to actually start to question their commitment and loyalty and patriotism to the United States of America, which resulted in 12 of them being sent home or being pulled out of there. Imagine being one of those 12. Now, I'd like to know the details of it. I hear conflicting reports on what they did or what they said, but everything I've heard so far, folks, was just them having freedom of speech. To my knowledge, none of them said anything that was to incite or coordinate for anything. It's just that they didn't agree with the incoming administration. So they get there, and now the mystery, folks, is who told them what, because they end up with these pictures, and none of these guys, none of these ladies and men that were in the National Guard, they weren't complaining, and yeah, I'm going to head you off at the point that you're going to say, well, they have, and what I'm talking about, in case you don't know, is the pictures came out. They were sleeping in garages, not even cots, on the floor of garages with one double bathroom, like one outlet for phone charging or anything else. Yeah. Have they put up with tougher arrangements when they were on active duty somewhere? Absolutely. Apples and oranges. They're in the capital of the United States of America. Who told them that they had to leave the capital? Right? The reports come out that it was a lowly Capitol police officer without the authority did it. Some are saying it came from the Capitol Police. Some are saying it was the National Guard themselves. I don't know, but it should be found out. Because when the pictures were out there and they got released, then people, right, congressmen and governors got very upset about this, and rightly so. So it was because National Guardsmen were allowed back into the Capitol Thursday night, hours after the ordered them to vacate the facilities, sending them outdoors to the nearby parking garages. So, First Lady Jill Biden, she went down with, I guess, baskets of muffin or something, and President Biden called. But the governors are upset about this because they should have the dignity. Then I just caught on the news that either Trump or Trump Organization, and I'm sure it's either way, it's coming from Donald Trump, that they can have Trump International right down the street if they'd like. But this is just a sad thing. I mean, how do you do that? You bring these people. Now, governor's just saying, "Hey, we're going to bring them back." Governor Abbott in Texas, I've instructed General Norris to order the return of Texas National Guard to our state. Right, Ron DeSantis. Last night, I ordered our Adjutant General to bring Florida National Guard soldiers from the National Capital Region, and then our neighbor to the north, Governor Chris Sununu, have ordered the immediate return of all New Hampshire National Guard from Washington, D.C. They did an outstanding job serving our nation's capital in the time of strife and should be graciously praised, but not subjected to substandard conditions. Now, none of the guardsmen people are complaining. None of them were bitching about it. None of them had the problem with it. It became known about this, and they deserve better. They should be treated with a little respect and some dignity and not treated like a junkyard dog. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Richard's been waiting, and let's see if our connection is a little better with Richard. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning.
How are you, sir? I'm good. I'm broadcasting from a remote, non-disclosed, secure location today, Richard.
Underground, huh?
Underground. No, actually, I'm in the penthouse of the condo, but that's another story. Yeah, no. We're trying to. That's why I think we had a little rough start this morning, but I think we're doing well.
All right. You happen to mention. I was talking about this, but you happen to mention about flying monkeys and stuff, right?
It's just the whole Richard. When I said Palace Guard and everything, what popped in my house was just that scene, right? The guards. Ooh, yo, those guys. But anyway.
You know what that was all about? What was it about? A lot of people don't know where.
Oh, I've heard these theories.
The movie came out in June of 1929. Basically, it was all about the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
The yellow brick road, that was gold, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oz basically is ounce of gold. OZ, ounce of gold. Okay. And you had the straw man. Basically, everybody has a straw man. It's your identification and stuff like that. And the cowardly lion. That's the attorneys that didn't have enough nerve to go after the bankers from the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, I've heard this. Yeah.
Now sit down now, guys. Tin Man, taxpayer identification number. That's what the Tin Man was all about. Was your taxpayer identification number.
Without a heart. The Tin Man with no heart.
Because first of all, the DIRS doesn't have a heart, right? When they come after you. But the thing that I don't know if you ever heard of this gentleman. His name is Charlie Ward. Did you ever hear of him?
I don't know. Ward. I mean, Charlie Ward's a common name, so I don't know if it sounds familiar.
From England and stuff like that.
Okay.
He has all kinds of shows and different things, and I've been listening to him lately, and he gets a lot of inside information that you, I, and a lot of other people were not privy to.
Right.
But he has a lot of military people who talk to him and stuff like that. And he came out and he said, right now, right, there's 800 generals and colonels, and the Pentagon, they've already told Biden, all right, you can do whatever you want domestically, but you're not going to have any part of the military. So they've already told Biden that they're not going to comply with him, right? For anything that he wants.
Well, I mean that's a very wait, Richard. That's a very bold thing to say because I can't. If you're a general or an admiral or any member of the military and you tell the commander in chief this, that's right there. It's treasonous, and you could end up in the brig. But they really don't have a choice, Richard. He's the president, unfortunately.
They do, Joe.
How?
If you're illegal, you don't have to listen to that. It'd be like Nazis.
Okay, yeah, but Richard, now the question becomes, Richard, wait a minute. I agree that there was a lot of fishy business. I'm not, he got certified. So if you look at it this way, they certified him, they sworn him in. He is the president. Now, did he get there? I think there's an asterisk next to it, and there should be for the rest of time because of the level of funny business and the I always have trouble with that word, right? Irregularities irregularities of the election because we had, which we never had before, mass mailing, ballot harvesting, drop boxes for voter, all of this stuff we've never had before. So there's an asterisk there. So, but the thing is, nobody's doing anything about it. And when people voiced it out, it got out of hand on the 6th. So the bottom line is he's been sworn in. He is the president. Now I have a problem with the fact that on a couple levels. One is how he got there. And two, I don't think he's fit for the job. I'm not being mean-spirited. I'm not being cheeky about this, folks. I'm just saying he's pushing 80 years old. He clearly loses his train of thought sometimes. He wanders off in his thought. I'm concerned about his faculties and his mental ability. Again, I'm not being. I just got to share this, Richard. I got to address everybody else, Richard. I don't want all the emails and texts coming at me that I'm mean-spirited. I'm being very polite and serious about that. So that all being said, Richard, he's the president. And the military doesn't have a choice about it.
But wait a minute now. Well, let's stop and think about this now. He can never get a national security clearance. I don't care if he's president. I don't care if he's Jesus walking on water. He can't get a national security clearance. So if you can't get a national security clearance, why would the military want to comply with whatever he has to say? And not only that, but when I took
Richard, is he getting security briefings every day?
I don't think so.
Yes, he is. He is, because he's the president.
Well, I don't. But the thing is, when I swore allegiance to when I joined the Navy, okay, I swore allegiance to the Constitution, and I swore to protect the people of the United States. I did not swear allegiance to protect the president. I did not protect the politicians. That was my two things I had to.
Yeah, but you do swear to follow all lawful orders from the president. But you do swear from the president.
No, look, I'm telling you right now, he does not have a national security clearance.
Well, whether he has one or not, it doesn't matter. He's the president, Richard. He's being told everything he needs to be told. Every morning, the CIA director is giving him a briefing, the NSA director, the DNI. They're all giving him briefings. So whether he has a clearance or not, it's irrelevant. The office of the president gets it, right? He gets those clearance. He has the intel. Whether he has a clearance or not, it doesn't matter. The office is. The office of the presidency, all that comes with it automatically. Now, if he probably could, if he was Joe Biden's citizen and he was going to go get a job or something, yeah, I agree with you. He probably couldn't get a clearance if the FBI did an investigation and they looked into his family and Hunter and all this unexplained money and different corporations and shadow corporations. I get that. But he's the sitting president of the United States. It doesn't matter. The president doesn't have a clearance per se. The office gets it. So whoever's sitting in the office is in charge of all of these agencies. So he has it. Whether he's got a clearance or not, it's irrelevant. Huh?
I'm looking at it this way, Joe, okay? Remember Wednesday, okay? What happened is when he came down supposedly in the motorcade, but basically that was Tuesday when he came down. That was all pre-taped. A lot of people didn't know that. But what happened is all the military, all of them, all the soldiers, they all turned their backs to him. What does that tell you, Joe? When somebody, if you go to court and when the judge comes in and you turn your back to the judge, what does that tell the judge? It tells the judge you give him the middle finger, right?
But Richard, is something getting blown out of proportion? Because when you're in a protective detail, you usually have your back to your protectee. You're supposed to be looking at threats coming at him. You're not looking. You don't sit there and oogle over your protectee. Your protectee should be behind you because you're the wall. So I don't know, huh?
There's nobody there, Joe. There's nobody there at his inauguration, basically.
Well, no, there isn't.
I'll leave you with this one here, right? Charlie Ward came out and he said, basically, all right? You remember Trump, when he left, he went down to Florida, supposedly?
Supposedly.
He stayed in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Because what happened is there was a snafu. Because Biden was never supposed to be sworn in. That's part what the military was actually there for, to stop a riot from Black Lives Matter and Antifa.
You gotta listen to this guy, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of people all around the world right now, as you and I are talking, they're being arrested. And you remember the 13 families I told you about? They were all trillionaires in Italy.
Yep.
They all got arrested. They're all in prison, and they took all their gold and silver.
Who took it?
The United States.
All right. I haven't heard anything. All right, Richard. We got to continue this, but I can't because we're
telling you stuff that you've never heard.
I know we're coming against the clock, and we got to get on this. But I got to get a final call in. Thank you very much. And
right,
take care. To your text, yes, I do. To our texter sending in an email, I do want to get into the impending Trump impeachment trial. About the witnesses being called, whether it's constitutional, we'll get into more of that. But let me go to the phones because Mark has been waiting patiently. Good morning, Mark. Thank you very much for holding. You look marvelous.
You look marvelous. Well, wherever you are.
Thank you.
Are you in the back cave?
I am in the Batcave. You got it. Undisclosed secure location. That is for sure.
What we're seeing now here, you were talking about the military. What you're seeing is a Soviet-style purge of the U.S. military chain of command. That's exactly what you were seeing. They want to know where your allegiance lies. Does it lie with the constitutional republic, or does it lie with the regime or the party? They did the same thing in Russia in 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution. That's one of the first things on their bucket list, and that's what you're seeing right now.
Along with taking over the media, but they already had the media.
Well, what you see on the media now, you turn on even if it's out of Boston, what you see is Soviet-style propaganda. You're not seeing news. You're seeing Soviet-style propaganda to the max.
Yeah.
It's like a propaganda built, Trump, 24/7. Am I right? Am I wrong?
No, you're right. I agree.
You don't call what you see coming out of the mainstream media, or even the local media. You don't call that news. I don't. I see it for what it is.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. It's not. Thank you, Mark. Always appreciate it. I agree. It is propaganda. Look at a matter of fact. I want to the fawning. Even political and New York Times have come out and told their fellow, and I'm air quoting journalists, folks, come on. This Biden fawning is a little bit too much. Let me play this because this is just an example, a montage of how they were treating the Biden regime.
Those lights that are just shooting out from the Lincoln Memorial along the reflecting pool, it's like almost extensions of Joe Biden's arms embracing America.
This is New America, and I hope New America wins the war.
The inauguration was a joyful occasion.
The 46th president of the United States putting his soul into his first address.
He gave the kind of inaugural address our presidents used to give.
Like I do at most happy things, I cried a lot.
We haven't had a love story in the White House in 4 years.
We saw the steely determination and compassion of President Joe Biden.
There was not one part of that wasn't just medicine in the wound.
Wow. Wow. Is the type of fawning and tripping over themselves that the left media has been doing with the Biden administration coming in. And then the softball questions, right? I mean, unbelievable. And they're going to continue this because there's been the Biden protection program put into place. And what that is, it's among the handlers in the Biden staff. And what they've done is created a bubble around him. This can't be a surprise. We saw him campaign for almost a year. And he was unreachable, untouchable. It was all very orchestrated. He came from either pre-taped speeches or from the basement, which God knows what was off the camera. and he didn't have to face any serious, legitimate reporter, right? Who would he get interviewed by? Carly B. And then, was it somebody, Charlemagne? He calls himself the God or something. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think that's when he said, if you ain't voting for Biden, you ain't black. I think that's where that quote came from. But he hasn't been exposed. So why do you think he's going to be an exposed president? Donald Trump has got to be the most transparent and open, exposed president that we've ever had. And we're not going to get that from the Biden administration or Joe Biden himself, because it's pretty guaranteed that if they let him go on his own, he's going to go off script, and that's never a healthy, good thing for them. It never works out. All right, folks. So going forward, we're going to take a break here, and then when we come back, we're going to be joined by Patrick Wood, who is the founder and director of Citizens for Free Speech. We'll talk to him for a little bit because this cancel stuff has got to stop. So stick with us here on AM 830 WCRN, our affiliates, and of course live streaming on the TuneIn app, 508-871-7000. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. We'll be back in a moment.
WACE Chicopee and WCRN Worcester.
7 o'clock. Hey, folks, Joe Mangiacotti from the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Reminding you, talk radio is the immune system to the partisan, bias, political rhetoric attacking us on a daily basis. Get inoculated. The Joe Mangiacotti Show is your vaccine.
You're getting Patrick on the phone? You're getting Patrick on the phone?
Golden Group Roofing is a community brand. From our Master League roofers and industry partners to our clients, every single person represents the Golden Group standard. We strive every day to make your home's needs a priority because Golden Group invests in you and your communities. With unbeatable craftsmanship, customer satisfaction, reasonable pricing, Golden Group Roofing stands above the rest. Having been awarded GAF Master League Contractor, Certainty Select Shingle Master, and GAF Energy Certified Solar, Golden Group Roofing is 100% worthy of your...
Hey, Jazz.
Experience the Golden Group difference, where hands protect what matters most. Visit us at goldengrouproofing.com or call us at 508-8...
Are you getting...
508-873-1884.
Thank you.
I want to tell you what Cantiani Insurance has been able to do for me and Teddy. We stopped in to see Paul Sr. and the great staff at 318 Plantation Street. They've been handling my car and business insurance for years. Teddy was making his way around the office, and they let me know. They now offer pet insurance. For a fraction of what one visit to the vet was for Teddy, they could cover him for a whole year. I know you treat your furry family members like any other family member, and as well as I do Teddy. The professional staff at Cantiani has been providing courteous service for over 40 years, with integrity and personalized service, making sure that your insurance actually protects you and your family. With 2 locations, the 318 Plantation Street in Worcester and East Douglas Insurance Agency, located at 306 Main Street in Douglas. For home, auto, business insurance, and now pet insurance, click CantianiAgency.com or call 508-791-2088. 508-791-2088.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger-looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. You're tired of being tired?
You have to speak up when you're talking to me because the the radio's drowning you out.
Is that better?
Yes.
Joe, I'm going to turn your mic on. Your mic is on.
All right, folks. Welcome back to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. And Jazz, I'm getting that feedback again. So we continue here. Lines are open and available. 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. And our text line as well, 617-297-8388. Live streaming on the TuneIn app. Just punch in WCRN. You can take us anywhere. Tell Alexa to listen to WCRN. She'll do that as well. And don't forget, we're also live streaming on my Facebook page. That's Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. All right, as we're moving right along, let me invite into the conversation Patrick Wood. He's the founder and director of Citizens for Free Speech. So first of all, let me say good morning to you, Patrick, and thank you for getting up early on a Saturday morning and joining us.
Good morning, Joe. It's nice to get up early sometimes. You of the world.
Yeah, you absolutely do. That is no question about that. Look, we've had a crazy 4 years, but real lately we're seeing, well, let me get back up for a second and introduce. As I said, Patrick is the founder and director of Citizens for Free Speech. It's a nationwide nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting and defending the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. You are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and you were founded a couple years ago in 2018. What else can you tell us or add to that, Patrick?
Well, our specific focus is really just to defend the First Amendment, which we believe is just being shattered, especially with this entire COVID debacle. But we saw the censorship coming back in 2018, and that's why we started up, figuring that, man, we need to mount a huge defense against the attack on free speech and freedom of the press. It's just time to draw the line in the sand and say we're just not gonna let this happen.
Agreed. I mean, we saw. Let me say two things. We've got COVID-19, which, we even 100 years ago, when we had 1918 and the Spanish flu, I don't even think that the same steps that are taken today were taken then, because life is different, technology is different, travel is different. 100 years ago, for the most part, most people, did they not, Patrick, pretty much were born, lived in relatively the same few square miles, with exceptions. Today we're a much more transient society, and we change jobs 8-10 times. We work in Boston, and next year we're working on the West Coast. Very different culture, different lifestyles today. So COVID comes in, and all of a sudden there's all kinds of restrictions that are being placed on us by governors and the heads of the health and human services or health departments, and they seem to be arbitrary in most places, because there isn't a lot of explanation as to why this can open and that can't open. So people initially, I think for the most part, went along with it, Patrick. They said, okay, I get it. We're gonna do what we can. But the restrictions and crackdown and elimination of our basic freedoms and rights have been deteriorated. And then we have big tech on the scene, and they have blatantly moved into the arena of, this is what we're going to do, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then if you try to do something about it, we're going to squash them too. We saw that with Parler. And they all got together, and I'm wondering, isn't there any kind of racketeering, conspiracy, or trade issue going on here? How can the big tech censor the President of the United States and eliminate his account while he was still sitting, the sitting president, when he did this? How can this happen, and how can we stop it, Patrick?
Well,
as big tech has grown up, they're the most visible to it because that's where people socially interact with, with others and with news and stuff like that. We see that first, but it's not the only thing that that is plaguing us today. It's certainly bad. They've committed murder, for instance, against Parler. Absolutely outrageous. And so far, Parler hasn't had a whole lot of belief on it in the courts. They may eventually. But we see other companies that came against Parler after that. After Amazon dropped their server services, the cloud services, so Parler just couldn't operate at all, Parler went out and tried to get together with another cloud provider. And there's many of them in the country. Everywhere they went, every other vendor that they went to denied them service because Amazon had thrown them out.
And did they not get the pressure, Patrick, from the other ones, the Facebook and Google people saying you can't, no. If you do that, we're coming after you too.
That's right. Whether it was spoken to them directly or whether it was just an implied, this is the way we do business here,
Right.
It doesn't matter. The point of it was they honored what Amazon decided, and so Parler couldn't find another cloud service, period. Then you have payment services like Stripe and MasterCard and Visa, and PayPal dropping certain people so that they can't collect finances, and GoFundMe accounts and so on. So, kind of kicks you out at the knees when you can't raise money for your cause because they don't like your cause. So they just say, oh, you can't process your payments through us. This really hurts. Even MailChimp, the giant mailing service, has been censoring people, dropping people right out of their mail service and just saying you're terminated. And some organizations have, maybe 100, 200,000 people they mail to frequently. That's their main line of communication.
Right.
And they're gone. Boom. So, this is going deep and wide across society right now.
But who's actually behind it, Patrick? Who's behind? Who are they afraid of? I mean, do all of these companies all of a sudden wake up on the same day at the same time, or relatively within the same time, and have the same epiphany, the same thought, or is there a communication going on? Is there someone saying, here's the master plan, we're going to systematically remove any alternative thought, just conservative, of course, but anybody who doesn't buy into our party? I mean, I don't even think Orwellian's a big enough word to describe this.
It may not be. I had an article that I wrote recently, published in Epoch Times, called Decoding Social Media Censorship by the Issues. And I contended in this article that all of the issues that are being censored right now have to do with globalization in one way or another, whether it be COVID-19. This is a global issue. It's not just in America.
Right.
And, you talk about anybody that criticizes globalization. You talk about the World Economic Forum, and boom, you're gone. Talk about global warming, climate change, you're gone. Want to talk about Hunter Biden's Ukraine issues? Nope, you're gone. And so if you look down the issues, you see all of this has to do with globalization, not necessarily a left-right political debate. And it just so happens that the conservative side of the aisle happened to talk about these types of things more frequently. For instance, President Trump was supposedly pro-populism. I think the populism movement in America elected him in the first place. And so he was demonized, but he was demonized on behalf of globalization because the global elite, if you will, that are pushing their agenda across the world can't stand anybody leveling criticism at these issues, so they simply censor them out. And if you look at Twitter and Facebook and those ways and Google, these are global corporations now. They are not domestic anymore. We'd like to kind of think they are. Well, Google started here up in Silicon Valley in a garage.
Right. We claim the ownership, right, because they originated in the boundaries of our country and all that. But make no mistake about it, they are international corporations. They're dealing in tons, if not hundreds, of countries around the world, and that becomes the question, right? Where is this master plan of the one world order, and isn't that another way of saying, globalization is the one world order, the one world government, and is that government to be controlled by the big corporations?
That's right, by them, not us. It's interesting that these people now seem to have collectively more power than the government does.
It seems that way, doesn't it? Yeah.
Really aggravated.
No. But they're doing the big tech's bidding. You know what I'm saying? They're doing the bidding. I mean, this Section 230 didn't have a snowball's chance once Trump was out. It was one of the among one of the final things he tried to do, right? He tried to put the 230 elimination into those, final stimulus bills, right? It didn't happen. And nobody on the Hill is going to take up that. And I know you don't know me that well since just getting this set up and stuff, but I have been crying about this. And I mean, I don't mean crying wah. I mean crying loud from the rooftops. Hey, this Section 230 has got to be eliminated. They have got to make a decision. You're a publication or you're a platform. Pick one or the other and let the same rules apply. If you're the platform, then you can't be censoring us. And if you're a publication, you're not exempt from liability, and you can be sued like the New York Times or the Boston Globe.
Exactly right. This should be the way it is. And you can imagine who's putting pressure on Congress to not do that. It's the same, globalist entities. They have unlimited money, at least compared to us.
Yeah.
Unlimited lawyers compared to us. And they can go out and lobby for these things and tell congressmen or whatever, you better not vote on that. Or else we will, fill in the blank. It's politics as usual, and but it's not the political system that's controlling it. It's the other way around. You're right on that. Politics and politicians like Nancy Pelosi, et cetera, they are the tail. And, they're not in control of this process at all, what's going on. And in time, I will tell you, big tech and what we're talking about here will eat their lunch as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they always do, Patrick, right? They always eat their own eventually. And they'll come at it. And I think that is why there are some people on the left side of the aisle that want to see something happen, like Elizabeth Warren here in Massachusetts. Probably, different reasons. But I got to ask you this and get your opinion on this, because I say, look, the Googles and Facebooks and Twitter, YouTube, and these were all companies because of Section 230 in the beginning were allowed to continue to grow and grow in a mass power. And any other industry, we wouldn't have allowed that to get like that. Ma Bell got broken up. The railroads, even though they were privately owned, we said, but they're for the public good, so we got to regulate them. We regulate electricity and gas and water and all that. Are these not really, isn't it time to consider them public utilities? There's been talk at times, that maybe the internet should be under the FCC. And they don't want that to happen because then the FCC rules start to kick in, and the FCC being that autonomous agency like we have so many, Patrick, they make rules which in essence have the force of law and answer to nobody. So big tech doesn't want that either. But isn't it time that they either be declared a public utility or that they're too big and they must diverse?
Many companies are actually doing what our countries are not doing stuff. So America is lagging behind.
Yeah.
And I would remind anybody listening to this discussion, there was a time when we did control the internet because we had an exclusive contract with an organization known as ICANN, ICANN, based in Silicon Valley. And they were the keepers of the Domain Name Services Registry that registers all the websites throughout the world. That's like the master phone book of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And we had this exclusive arrangement where we signed a contract every year with ICANN to keep ICANN in America's orbit. And President Barack Obama saw fit to let that contract expire. And all of a sudden, ICANN is not under the control of the United States anymore. It's floating free, if you will.
And I assume that wasn't a mistake, Patrick. That wasn't a mistake. That was a very calculated move.
Those of us in the tech world that understood, that really kind of understood the how the internet works, made more than the average person anyway. We're hopping up and down over this, and are you crazy? We had this agreement with first right of refusal or whatever it's called. All we had to do is sign the paper every year to perpetuate the relationship with ICANN indefinitely. And Obama basically put his hand in his pocket and said, bye, and it's gone.
Wow.
So now, the internet has changed a lot since that happened. And, we still don't know what's going to happen with ICANN, of course. They are the cataloger of the internet, though. Extremely powerful organization at this point. And,
well,
so we're pitted against that as well. We don't have that autonomous control anymore.
Hey, Patrick, let me ask you about this, if you know about this, because this is something else that came across my desk, and I was like, wow, and it didn't get a lot of attention. But GoDaddy, the domain registry company out of, I think, Arizona or something, and I use GoDaddy. I mean, I have 30-something domains because my company does boutique shows, and I do PR for companies, so I have dozens and dozens of domains registered. I've got the bulk discount through I need it and all that. But they pulled the domain and hosting service to AR15.com. They decided they didn't. Now, I went and checked them out. I mean, they're not a radical group. They're a Second Amendment group. And the guy behind it, he also owns, I think, one of the largest, gun, I don't know if it's a manufacturer or a retail operation or something. But now you've got domain companies and hosting services becoming censors and editors of your content. I never thought that. I mean, GoDaddy, to me, you're a tool. You're a farm of servers that allow me to be on the internet. Now we're going to get it from the government and big tech, and now even the actual companies that should have nothing to do with that. It was amazing, and I'm waiting to see a bunch of news about this. It's not really anywhere. I happened to catch it, and it stuck out because GoDaddy's my company that I use for everything. And I'm saying, well, what's going to stop them from saying we don't like the Joe Mangiacotti Show's content? We're doing away with your blog site and your webpage.
That's exactly right. Even WordPress.com has stopped people because they don't like them. The only way, and you're right, some of these should be declared public utility in one sense. But on the other hand, you have at the state level, certainly, and sometimes at the city level, you have incredible opportunities to stop these companies cold, dead in their tracks. For instance, you're right, GoDaddy is here in Arizona. It's a town close to me. If that town council had any, they could stand up and issue a binding ordinance against GoDaddy, that they would not practice those types of things within the city limits of their town. Any town could do that. And Google would be hard-pressed at that point to, if enough cities did that, they would be hard-pressed to get away from it, that they couldn't censor somebody from that particular area. And we need to get back to these kind of basics where we quit looking at Washington, D.C. as the solution.
Yeah.
They're the problem. Not the solution right now. They're most of the problem.
Hey, Patrick, there was I think it was Washington State, some county, and I didn't know the conversation was going to go here because I would have pulled it up in front of me, but they had so many. They actually the local internet service provider blocked Google because they were getting so many requests. People were so had enough with it that they were asking if Google, because they didn't want the kids to go on Google and all this, that they blocked it. And they said it's easier to handle case-by-case basis on people who want to be able to get Facebook and Google. So we're blocking it on our in some county, and I think it was Washington State. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. It was, and they did. And they did. I don't know if we're going at this right second, but yes, they did.
So, I mean, that gives me a little hope that if we speak as a group and make demands, that they will. And this is something I never understood with the right or the conservatives, right? The left knows how to use boycotts, and they scare companies and intimidate companies into behavior all the time. And I always question as to whether or not they were duped, because were they convinced that hundreds or thousands of people, or even hundreds of thousands of people had this opinion, or is it a few people in their mom's basement on social media convincing them? But,
Twitter has been behind this argument for some time that, our viewers, our users have complained, or one group or another has complained that we shouldn't have so-and-so on Twitter. And they kind of hide behind that.
Yeah.
It wasn't really our fault, but we had to respond to our constituents. You know what I say to that, Joe? I say full.
Yeah, 100%. It's a police exit. Yeah, other known as a cop-out. It's just wrong. Wrong. I always wonder about that. The other thing is, what's funny, Patrick, is that you have a lot, whether it's AOC or something, right? They call for these boycotts, and they turn into boycotts. I mean, look at the Goya bean situation, right? When they tried to boycott that, my goodness, that went through the roof, right? Their sales went through. As a matter of fact, the president of Goya Bean made AOC the employee of the year because of her boycott and ridiculous comments caused his sales to go through the roof. Right? To Chick-fil-A. Remember when they boycotted Chick-fil-A, right? You couldn't get a chicken sandwich for weeks. It just went through the roof. So these, I have a problem with I totally am 100% into free speech, and I believe that you can show your distaste with your wallet and your feet, walk out of the store, don't, use them, don't order, if you have a problem with Amazon, get rid of your Prime membership and stop ordering off a line. You can do all that. But when people start to organize to ruin your business and your livelihood, and then now we have this further step we're taking, Patrick, right? They're making lists, and anybody who worked for the Trump worked for the Trump campaign or the administration can't ever get a job. I think that's gone too far. When you go to somebody's house, right? When you go to a congressman's home, when their wife and baby are home alone, or you go to a media person's like Tucker Carlson's house when the wife's home alone, that to me is criminal, and you've crossed the line. You have a right to freedom of speech and express your thoughts, but do you have the right to ruin somebody's life? Do you have the right to take away their livelihood? Isn't that racketeering? Isn't that a step away from mafia?
How different is that than what the mob used to do, probably still does in New York City or Chicago, called extortion?
That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Businessman, we'll watch your store and make sure it doesn't burn down, but if you pay us $500 a week, why, you'll be safe forevermore.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't pay us, well, the implication is your store could, burn down, right? This is extortion that these people are pulling on organizations and companies or whatever, because they say, if you don't do what we say, we will burn you down. And in some cases, that means literally.
Yeah.
By the way, look at all the riots and stuff that took place, and the stores that got burned down.
And that's what I'm saying, Patrick. They've crossed the line. I mean, they have caused people to go out of business, to lose their job, lose their livelihood. That is racketeering. That is extortion. when or can we not get an attorney general or attorneys general across the nation to do something about this? When is it going to stop? I mean, it's one of these things. Morale will improve. You know, the beatings will stop when morale improves. Where are we going to be in 6 months from now? Where are we going to be in 6 years from now? What is life going to be like? I know I'm on the downslope, Patrick, right? I'm on the other side of the hill. I get that. But I have nieces and great nieces and nephews, and I'm worried about the world they're going to live in at my age. You know, what's the answer? You know, what's the answer? How do we stop the big tech, for one thing?
In my opinion, and this is what Citizens for Free Speech is doing, we are trying to develop people into local activists. Going into their own local communities, cleaning up the mess. This is where it has to start. This is where it all started.
All right, the local.
Every politician came out of a local setting, and the local setting has not been watched for so long that these nutcakes have, come up and risen up the ranks until they have power. Americans who care need to steel, S-T-E-E-L, need to steel their local communities against this kind of nonsense, and put in leaders, whether it be city council, school board or water board or whatever, property rights, group zoning. They need to put in people that got their heads screwed on right.
The local. You got that. Hey, Patrick, I have to take a break. Do you want to stay over and continue on this, or do you need to run?
Oh, hey, I'd be happy. I got a cup of coffee.
Oh, there you go. I'm going to go get some more tea. We're going to take a break here. I think we got handling change next, so we're going to do a handling change. We'll do that. We'll come back. We'll continue with Patrick. And again, Patrick Wood is the founder and director of Citizens of Free Speech. And boy, do we need an organization like that, folks. 508-871-7000. We are taking calls. I'll be back on the other side. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. Stick with us here on the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Hey, Teddy.
You got just over 5 minutes.
That can be challenging, right? Good morning.
Good morning, Joe.
Thanks for joining us again for Handling Change. Time of year.
Yes, most definitely.
When the world was normal, right?
Yes.
And we can talk about that a little bit. But what I wanted to ask you about is basically estimates versus contracts, because I think a lot of people, when it comes to the contracting world, get into trouble when they think an estimate is the end-all and be-all of everything. Why don't you break that down for us?
Of course, I would love to. So normally we get a lot of calls and we work very closely with the Better Business Bureaus, and we see that a lot of times homeowners get themselves in a tough situation because what they've actually signed, the agreement they've actually made, is actually indeed an estimate. And when they show me that estimate, they tell me, no, but this is what the contractor gave me and I signed. And I say, yes, you did, but unfortunately this is an estimate because this doesn't have the provisions and the necessary contract language to protect you and to really give you justice over your investment. And in order to really understand this, you must understand at the very basis what a contract is. So whenever somebody is coming to your property and proposing a roof price, they're most likely going to show you what's called an estimate. It's just a detailed proposal of work to be done. If you want to move forward with that company, you have to demand to have a contract. And at the very minimum, a contract should have full legal names of both parties entering the contract agreement. It should have the work to be done in a very detailed step-by-step product name, step-by-step of the roof, as well as the manufacturer. There is no generalization allowed in contract language. So that means if it's going to take 28 steps to do your roof, then there has to be 28 steps reflecting that. And then once we move on to that, it has to have a price table at the very minimum. The price is due at each step, the dates that the work is going to be performed and ended by, as well as the warranties. And the warranty is the biggest part. There has to be 3 types of warranties. This is where homeowners find themselves in trouble. There has to be a company warranty coming from the actual company you're doing business with, a product warranty coming from the product you selected, and likely a manufacturer warranty that's just going to tie the whole investment together. And then, of course, there are free rights to cancel and maybe some other necessary messages as well. So at the very minimum, those 5 points should be reflected in all contract languages in order to protect you in the unlikely event that you need to seek legal counsel.
So an estimate is really nothing more than, we think it's going to be in this ballpark. The U.S. signature just really says, hey, you gave me an estimate, but I haven't agreed to anything. They could be checked and fill out these details. Now, you mentioned the right of cancellation.
At the very least, you should never have somebody tell you that you've been tied into the contract. All Massachusetts contracts have 3 days where you can cancel with absolutely no fees. So I know sometimes homeowners think that there's fees associated with that, but no, there is not.
They can get away with it. They'll ask me.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are those dates? Like within 24 hours?
Within 3 business days, the contract signing. But the most important one, and I can't stress it enough, is the detailed steps of work. So no, not accepting generalized, like we will be installing a new roof. That is very left for misinterpretation, and misinterpretation can lead to
extremely vague. Plus, you had mentioned before about actually listing, say, the type of shingles, the actual brand, or at least the description of the shingles, and not just simply, hey, we're going to put shingles in it.
Exactly. So for every single product used, the manufacturer name has to be stated over and over again, and that particular product name has to be stated over and over again. This is going to allow you, in an unlikely scenario, to not let the contractor assume that you understood that he was going to put a generic or another product, because this is where I see roofing go wrong. And it's in these little steps of details that sometimes become hidden and not really transparent in the overall picture. So homeowners, when entering contracts, need to be very careful to make sure they read it, and make sure they read it so it protects both parties involved, of course, the contractor as well. But most importantly, where I would stress is to understand that there's 3 types of warranties. Don't let somebody tell you that this roof is warranted for 50 years.
Would you be open to people calling just to have this conversation with you about how do I go through this? I mean, other than, of course, they can go to the Handling Change website and listen to all your vignettes and probably piece it together. But would you be willing to take a phone call when someone's going to decide to start shopping around?
Of course, and please always call me at 508-873-1884. Again, it's 508-873-1884. As New England Roofing Contract Association Treasurer, it is my duty to make sure that the roofing industry is both better for the contractor and the consumer.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by Handling Change. And, of course, everybody can hear all your vignettes at handlingchange.info and hopefully soon on your site as well.
Yes.
Right? We're in the works of getting that done. Excellent. Thank you, Greta.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for Handling Change from the Cantiani Insurance Studios. Join us each week at 7:30 as we give you the tools to handle the changes in your life. Visit us at handlingchange.info and follow us at Talking Change for you. You can find Golden Group Roofing online at goldengrouproofing.com, or, as Greta said, give her a call at 508-873-1884. For Greta, I'm Joe Mangiacotti.
To join the conversation, call 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Now, here's your host, Joe Mangiacotti.
All right, folks. Okay, welcome back to, believe it, wow, the final segment of the Saturday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Here we go. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. Our text line is up and running at 617-297-8388. And don't forget, you can listen on a couple of platforms. That's a little loud. We can knock that music down a little bit. Yep. Are you not hearing me? Do you hear me? Oh, okay. All right. I don't know. I had a producer talk in my ear, so I didn't think I was getting out there. Thank you very much. All right, folks. So just in case you didn't get that, here we are. We're back for the final segment of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Our lines are open and available. 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000. To join the conversation, you can also text us on a text line, 617-297-8388. Don't forget, you can also get us on the TuneIn app. Just punch in CRN, take us anywhere, and you can even tell Alexa to play WCRN. And here we are, Patrick, talking about big tech, and I just rolled off a couple big tech platforms and things that we need, right, in this world. I mean, when I started in radio, it was a tower and a transmitter and a microphone, and that was social media. Now you have a show like this, you've got to be on multiple platforms and then podcast the show, and that gets distributed to iTunes and Google Play and Apple Play, and it's out there. So they've become, and this just makes my point, they are, in essence, public utilities. They've become so big and such woven into the fabric of everyday life that a handful of CEOs have way too much power.
Well, they do, and how we limit that. Obviously, since Washington D.C. is not going to do anything about it, haven't done anything. You're right; the Attorney General haven't done anything yet either. Although there are some states that are percolating right now. I'll just go back to the idea that the local scenario, the local setting, is the only place that really we can give these people fits. It not only gives them fits in the local community, but it also gives them very bad publicity. And in some other countries around the world, by the way, those countries are coming down like a hammer. Google and Facebook and Twitter and the rest of them. And, they're really putting the screws to them to stop these, this type of censorship.
And can we pause on that, Patrick, for a second? Because that's very interesting you say that, because I'm wondering how that fits in on the global level. Because didn't Parler shoot off, I think, and Dan Bongino is a minority owner in that company too, right? So I was listening, and I thought that they had meetings in Italy and, believe it or not, in Russia about running Parler through platforms there, through services there. But then again, can Google block it from getting into the United States? Because you're the tech guy. I don't know this stuff. Do they have an option to go to Italy or to go to Russia or to go to another country and say, we're going to run Parler, you're going to be our server, do our hosting instead of AWS? And I've been warning people think, oh, Amazon, right? No, Amazon has Amazon Web Service. Isn't that what it's called, AWS? And they control or host such a huge amount of internet traffic that I don't think people realize how much they use Amazon every time they use the internet. Can that happen technically? Is that ability there for Parler to make that deal?
There are so many dirty techniques that could be used against people in the internet world that I don't think I could count them all. And I would not be surprised at any point if some type of a dirty trick was played against somebody that they just didn't like. I think it happens all the time. But companies at this point, Parler's case, when they go to a foreign country, the rules on data are different in those countries, and that's why they're safer, perhaps, than in the United States. And it's going to be interesting to see what Parler ultimately does. But I've heard from several people that are kind of in our industry, that they have to have a server to serve them, and they get censored off of the YouTube and whatever, and they're going to Canadian firms, they're going to Europe to host the services over there. It's a strange world. But people are skirting the influence, if you will. But Google, remember, has 95% of all the world's search engine traffic. And if they decide they want to disappear you, they can disappear you in a heartbeat. Dr. Joseph McCullough was a perfect example of that. They took up beef with him. Google did. They cut his search traffic down by 95% within a month.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just gone from search. So if somebody searched on one of his products or an article or just his name or whatever, he'd come up on page 12.
Yeah. Well, they did that with that group of doctors who came out on the COVID thing saying this and that, and all of a sudden that video, they just disappeared it. And if you didn't download it, you couldn't see it. They did that. We also see them doing that, the liberal hive mind. That's something I follow. I think his videos are great, and it has a sense of humor. They've shadow banned him, right? They demonetized him. So you've got to go to his site to get it. That's what I'm saying, is this private industry, man, is deciding what we're allowed to see and not see. And I'm so sick of the argument they're a private company, they can do what they want. Well, if that's the case, Patrick, then every bar and restaurant can open up if they feel like it, right?
I know.
What's the difference?
A thought has occurred to me from time to time. There's all these discussions about intellectual property. You know, it's so important that we maintain intellectual property. And as long as it's their intellectual property, like Google, for instance, you can't touch it. You know, we'll crucify you if you get close to our intellectual
Right.
property. But if you have intellectual property, you have a video on YouTube where your own mouth and brain has put some stuff out there in the public domain, why you're fair game. And this is just a David and Goliath type of thing. You know,
Yeah.
we're big, we can do what we want. You're little, we're going to squash you like a bug. And this is wrong. This is just so patently wrong in America. I have to say, in America, every inch of progress that we have made in this country has been based on free speech. Every inch of progress that we've made has been based on free speech. The only times we have gone backwards as a society is when we are censored, and those ideas cannot be, they cannot come out to where Americans can just make the decision. I like this idea, I like that idea.
Right.
I'm going to throw this one out, I don't like that over there, whatever. This is the way America has always survived. These people are pushing us back in time,
Yeah.
regressing
Yeah.
society, and we're watching society break down right under our noses right this minute.
And they've taken choice away from the American citizen. They've decided that we're not smart enough and bright enough or grown up enough, I don't know what it is, to decide. I mean, you know, when TV was the main source of stimulation electronically, right? When I was a kid growing up, it was the TV. We had the radio, and we got our news every night from Walter Cronkite or whoever, and here in Boston Market, Natalie Jacobson, Chet Curtis. And that was it. And then there were the TV shows, and there was, you know, all this stuff. Oh, too much violence. And, you know, the thing is, and my parents used to say it, my father used to say it, turn the TV off. Tell your kid not to watch it. It was left up to the parents for the children and up to the individual to change the channel, not listen to it. You're not forced to download a podcast today. You're not forced to listen to something. And they've decided that we're too stupid to make that choice and too malleable. That if we listen to an opposing point of view, an argument, we're going to go along with it. They're going to brainwash us, right? The influence that you don't agree with us and you're so dangerous, you're not allowed to be heard because somebody might buy into that. And they don't want us to make decisions for ourselves. We have to follow the party line, and they're going to make those decisions. And that is what is so irking about this. And aggravating. And let me remind folks that we're talking, our guest online is Peter M. Wood. Now, he's the founder and director of Citizens for Free Speech. Don't forget, you can go right to citizensforfreespeech.org. The link is on my Facebook page, as is the link to Peter's page as well. And the answer that you have for this, Peter, or one of the solutions that you think it is local activism. Is the spirit of free speech in America, and you believe that the role of the citizen stakeholder in their local communities, that's the answer. So that's kind of the mission. Before we run out of time, why don't you lay that out for our listeners, how it is that's the answer, how you think about it, how your organization's going to get there, and what we should do if you want to run with that before we get a close for today.
You bet. Your local community is your last line of defense against all of the things at this point that we're talking about that you hate. And if Americans don't step up to defend their local communities finally and root some of these things out, these globalists will run over us like a steamroller, and we'll wonder what happened after the fact. And so we're helping people with training on how to communicate again, how to be active in civic affairs, and make statements, how to run for office, how to influence other people in your community. Basically, it's just getting up, getting out, being a good citizen. And we need to stop being intimidated by every other Tom, Dick, and Harry that wants to shout us down and say, your opinion doesn't count. This needs to stop. And so, we need to kind of grow a backbone and get some encouragement and get some training and get out there and mix it up with these people. And I do believe, and I think there's plenty of cases that support this, that it is possible at the local community to put a lot of this stuff on the side and just can't come back.
That's amazing. I want to remind folks too. You have an article in American Thinker. Are you a regular contributor there, Patrick?
I am.
Okay.
My articles kind of appear around the place. Epoch
Yeah.
Times publishes some articles as well. So to search for me or search for Citizens for Free Speech, or you can just go to citizensforfreespeech.org. All of my articles are there as well.
Okay.
Kind of the master repository. But they get picked up by other organizations, other journals.
Now, if there's somebody listening to this and they go there to citizensforfreespeech.org, is there any kind of template or direction that people gave? I mean, this concept of local, right? The state, like you said, you're in Arizona, and GoDaddy's in Arizona. Of states being able to, now we know that there are some states that are so left, you would probably have a hard time. But we do have a majority of state legislatures are actually Republican, and there might be some state level legislation to put a curb on this. Like I said, what happened in Washington State, I mean, it wasn't even this local government, it was the internet service provider who said, oh my God, I mean, imagine that, so many requests to take Google and Facebook off of their internet that it was easier to handle it one by one who wanted it. So I mean, that tells me that they're not right, that they're deciding they're right, and they're deciding that what's best for us.
That's right, and there are opportunities at the state level, but it still requires John Q. Citizen and a local community to get out and get to know those assemblymen and those senators that can make a difference, and get behind them and support them.
Yeah,
or
or
we have a great patriot here in Arizona, Andy Biggs, who is he's arch conservative, fighting great battles when he can in Washington D.C. People need to get behind, their congressmen, get to know them, and the state leaders and stuff, and tell them what you want. And tell them what you think.
Yeah.
It,
And even a step, exactly, I know, even a step further, Patrick, is run for these positions or recruit, right? Draft a committee, because we know that, look at the George Soros organizations have been, donating money to and grooming a lot of attorney generals and district attorneys throughout the country, so that their philosophies are now in place, which is why we're seeing the lack of prosecution for crimes. We're seeing, states and communities have no bail. I mean, no bail. Just the concept of it's gone. How did that happen? How that happened, folks, is that hive mentality, that school of thought, has been in farm teams. They've been getting these lower offices, right? We look at this issue with Congressman Swalwell being infiltrated by Fang Fang, and she started when he was a LA city councilman, right? That was a long-term play, wasn't it? I mean, that was a long-term move.
Absolutely. And but I've heard that in some communities, up to 30 to 40% of all of the local elected positions are unopposed.
Yes. Yeah. You're in Arizona, which by the way, I thank you again, because you're a couple time zones behind me. But here in Massachusetts, as I'm sure you know, we're a very blue state, which makes me more of an anomaly. But we're a very blue state. We sometimes and often have gone against the tide for the presidential elections, and we are majority controlled. I mean, the state house is just overwhelming in the Senate and the House and all that. So people here run unopposed as the norm. The Republican Party can't even get a candidate to run, usually because they know the chance of they're going to put all that energy, effort, and their name on the line, and they're going to get so attacked, and they know they won't win in the end anyway. So it's hard to recruit somebody, right? To take that punishment, to take that beating, knowing that you're already lost before you ran, but not on the ballot. We've got to get out of that habit. Got to stop that. You know, and
it just takes somebody with a little bit of courage. And I remember the old movie, The Network, where in the end of it, the broadcaster leans out the window and he shouts into the streets of I forget it was New York or wherever that was staged, but he leans his head out the street and says, "I'm mad as hell and I can't take it anymore." Everybody else to yell it too.
Yeah.
That's what has to happen in these communities, guys. Wake up. Everybody's just a person, just like you.
Yeah.
People aren't saints, or they're not their mob necessarily. You just need to, stand up and take a blow. If you need to take a hit, take a hit.
Yeah, 100%.
People just sit back and do nothing. You're guaranteed to lose every time.
Well, yeah, it's like the guy who keeps praying to God. Will you just let me win the lottery? I promise I'll do good. And God finally speaks back and he says, meet me halfway and buy a ticket. You got to do something, folks. You got to take the first step. You got to do something. And let me, before we have to go here, Patrick, tell me, you're the tech guy. If you feel that something's going on, you're not seeing the news feeds that you used to see, if you're running a little blog or you're posting, how do you check? What are steps? Is there anything you can do to find out whether or not they've kind of shadow banned you? I know they've done it to me, and I've got notices that said we're suspending your ability to do live videos for a little while because we don't like the content of your show.
The only way you have to monitor if you're in a position to be censored, you just have to monitor your traffic and using analytics programs that can tell you where people are coming from and how often they come, et cetera.
Yeah.
When you see differences from week to week or month to month, something's going on. And sometimes it's just post by post. For instance, a Facebook post one day might say get you 500 interactions. Another post 2 days later, same group, same maybe even kind of general topic, you might find you only have 50. And you go, what the heck happened here?
Right.
Yeah, well, you've been shadow banned. That's all. It's pretty common knowledge now.
Yeah, got it.
Shadow banned, nothing being dropped.
Oh, yeah. No, you're being literally wiped off the face of the earth. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, what they've done to President Trump was in essence a big tech, I guess, big tech lynching, right? A digital lynching, a cyber lynching. I don't know what term we apply to it, but they've in essence killed his political ability. We've got the left in Capitol Hill who are going through this ridiculous impeachment. I mean, they're impeaching a private citizen, Patrick. The ramifications of that to me are very scary because if the Congress can impeach a private citizen, can they not just impeach any opposing party before they even get a chance to run for president? Just go around impeaching citizens and then eliminate it.
At this point, these people are just acting in a lawless capacity. It would seem like, but
it's Wild West.
Movement is the enemy of globalization. They are scared to death of the populist movement. Now, Trump said it one time. He said, they're not after me, they're after you.
Yep, he did.
I think that's a great observation.
It is. It was a wonderful observation because he nailed it on the head. And that's it. He's in the way. He's the tip of the spear for us. And I don't think there's a lot of people Patrick, that would have the skin tough enough for this and the ability, and maybe it is because he's such a narcissist or whatever that he's able to upstand this. But he said it a couple times in a rally that he loves, right? He loves the rallies. He loves the political. And in essence, I mean, if you become a billionaire in New York development, I mean, that's a sense of politics. Trust me, people. He's playing. It may not be elected, but he's playing politics all the time. And what did he always say about these people? He knows how it works because he's the guy they used to go beg him for a check. And he would give checks to both sides, and he got something on his investment, right? He always said that. They said, well, what did you get? He goes, well, when my daughter got married, I told Hillary Clinton you're going to be there. And she was there. You know, this was before he became candidate Trump, right? All right, Patrick, we're running against the clock. I want to thank you so much again. You're such an early hour. You're behind us in a time zone there in Arizona. You're doing a great job with the Citizens for Free Speech. I encourage everybody to go check it out. Your plan of attack is wonderful. Go local. Go local, organize, communicate, and that's the way to for us as just the powerless citizen here to do something. I mean, that's all I can say about that, I guess. Thank you. Anything you want to direct us to? Do you have any books or anything that we should know about, or just the articles we want to go check out?
I do have quite a few books. And, people can just search for it on Amazon. So put my name in, Patrick Wood. You'll find it.
On Amazon, folks. So, all right, Patrick. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And you come back again. All right, folks. All right. Hey, Jess, is that wrapping it up for the Saturday edition here of the Joe Mangiacotti Show, which means I'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. And what time is it now? I don't know. I got to see the clock here. We got to get this stuff. I don't know. Jazz, are we done? We're done. Take care, folks.
WCRN was